Hey, good morning, Choice Residential. Hope your day's off to a wonderful start. So today I want to talk about homeowner associations and what you need to do when it comes to properties that have homeowner associations, and even one tip for when they don't have a homeowner association. In fact, let's start there. If you're selling a property that you know or are pretty confident does not have a homeowners association, you still need to be checking to determine if there are restrictive covenants. So the overwhelming majority of neighborhoods, when they were first developed, the developer would have put restrictive covenants in place. So even if no homeowners association was ever formed, there may still be restrictive covenants that govern that neighborhood. I happen to live in a neighborhood where that's the case. So there's no HOA to enforce those covenants, but any homeowner within the neighborhood could go to a judge or magistrate to have those restrictive covenants enforced. And therefore, your buyer needs to be aware that they exist and they need to be provided a copy of those. If you're ever unsure and you can't locate a copy of covenants and you want to just double check, reach out to your closing attorney and ask them for assistance on that front. Now, when it comes to properties that do have an HOA, you need to make sure that you are calling the homeowner association directly to ask certain questions. You don't want to just rely on pulling the restrictive covenants or relying on what the seller puts in their property disclosure. You need to confirm all of the relevant information firsthand by calling the property manager who covers that homeowner association with the management company. So a couple of things that you're going to want to make sure you're asking. First, you want to confirm what the actual HOA dues are, how much they are, how often they're paid, and what do they cover and what do they not cover. So it's a big difference between a single family neighborhood versus a townhome neighborhood. But for example, the townhomes, you want to confirm if they cover replacement of the roof, replacement of the siding. Some homeowner associations do, others do not. So you want to be crystal clear on what they cover and what they don't cover. Another great question that often gets overlooked is, are there any pending or confirmed assessments? So you want to make sure you know, are there any assessments that may increase the dues or be a one-time payment that buyer needs to be aware of? If there are confirmed assessments, the seller is responsible for paying those at closing, but you want to make sure that gets addressed. If there are any pending assessments, that would be the buyer's responsibility if and when those pending assessments become confirmed assessments at a later date after closing. Also, ask if there's a second HOA that governs the neighborhood. Some neighborhoods are in two homeowner associations, a master association and a sub-association. We've seen cases where agents did not discover a sub-association, and that comes up later after closing. You don't want a surprise like that. So make sure you're asking if in fact there is a second association. And then you can actually take it one step further and ask if you can see the financials for that HOA. While you're not an accountant or a CPA, and even if you are a CPA, you're not acting for your client in that capacity. So you can provide that information. You don't necessarily want to analyze those financials, but you can provide that information to the buyer for them to review so they can feel comfortable buying into a neighborhood that has a homeowners association. So make sure that you're asking all the appropriate questions. Just a couple more examples for you. Let's say you have a client that you know has 5 large dogs. Well, you'd want to ask that HOA manager, hey, are there any restrictions against dog ownership and the number of dogs that you can have in the neighborhood? You want to get that information. If your client is going to be renting the property out, make sure you ask the question to the manager, are there any rental restrictions that we need to know about? Don't just rely on what the restrictive covenants may or may not say or any rental history that you found in the MLS. Always be sure to ask questions that are going to be relevant to your client directly to the HOA management company. If you guys ever have any examples or scenarios or things that have come up in transactions you've had, please put them in the comments below. Other agents would love to read about it. And if you ever have any questions about HOAs or need any help, always reach out. Until next time, take care.